The old arena shook as thousands of aliens shouted, their roars echoing against metal walls. Rust flakes fell from the ceiling. The smell of oil, blood, and smoke mixed in the air. At the center of the ring stood a man, a human, alone, unarmed, and calm. His name was Ethan Cole. Around him, 4 alien warriors circled like hungry beasts. Their claws were sharp, their skin armored like stone. The crowd laughed at the sight. A fragile human fighting barehanded against trained killers. "Look at him," hissed one alien. "Soft skin, weak bones. This will be over in seconds," but Ethan didn't answer. His eyes were steady, his breathing slow. He rolled his shoulders once like a man warming up before a workout. Not a death match. A tall alien commander watched from a high platform. Her silver skin glowed under the red lights. Her name was Veyra, and she was feared across 5 systems. But when she looked at Ethan, something inside her paused. The human's calm didn't make sense. The fight began with a deafening gong. The first alien charged, and a reptilian brute with claws like knives. He swung hard, but Ethan ducked, letting the blade pass inches above his head. Then he stepped forward, his fist driving into the alien's ribs. A sickening crack echoed. The creature staggered back, howling. The crowd fell silent for a heartbeat. The second alien attacked from behind. Ethan spun and kicked low, hitting the joint between armor plates. The alien crashed down. Dust rose around them. Now the laughter in the stands turned to gasps. The human moved fast, too fast. Every strike was precise, controlled. No wasted motion. Veyra leaned forward in her seat. Her voice was low. "That's not ordinary human combat." Ethan picked up a broken spear from the floor, twirled it once, then threw it. The spear hit the third alien straight in the chest, piercing its breathing plate. It fell without a sound. The last warrior hesitated. "Monster," he hissed. Ethan's face stayed calm. "No, just human." The alien roared and lunged, swinging wildly. Ethan stepped inside the attack, caught the alien's wrist, twisted, and slammed his elbow into the creature's throat. One move, silent, perfect, final. The arena fell completely quiet. The only sound was the hum of broken lights. Veyra rose from her seat slowly. Around her, other commanders whispered in shock. "Impossible," one said. "Humans were slaves, weak. How?" "Silence," Veyra ordered. Her eyes stayed locked on Ethan. The human stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by bodies, his chest rising and falling. Blood trickled from a cut on his cheek, but he didn't seem to notice. He looked up at the platform, directly at her. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Veyra's heart pounded. Something ancient stirred. A memory from old war stories. Humans, they once said, were dangerous not because of weapons, but because of will. Because they fought long after logic said they should stop. Ethan spoke, voice steady. "Is this your empire's idea of justice?" No one answered. The guards shifted uneasily. Then with a single nod, Veyra said, "Bring him to me." 2 soldiers entered the arena, aiming shock rifles. Ethan didn't resist. He wiped the blood from his face, glanced once more at the silent crowd, and let them lead him away. As the heavy doors closed behind him, the alien audience began to whisper. Who was he? How did he fight like that? Veyra turned toward the observation glass, her reflection trembling under red light. "A human," she murmured. "And he fights like a storm." Somewhere in the darkness of the arena's tunnels, Ethan whispered to himself, "They think they broke us. Let them learn what human strength really means." The lights flickered out, leaving the crowd buzzing with fear and fascination. The legend of the bare-handed human had just begun. Ethan woke to the sound of humming energy walls. The cell was small, made of transparent glass-like material glowing faint blue. His reflection looked back, tired eyes, bruised arms, blood still drying. He had no idea how long he'd been unconscious. Outside his cell, alien guards stood motionless, tall, armor-coated, emotionless. Beyond them stretched a massive hall filled with shifting shadows and the echo of heavy machinery. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Then the door at the far end opened. Commander Veyra walked in. Her steps were quiet, controlled, but her silver eyes burned with curiosity. The guards saluted and stepped aside. She came close to the cell, studying the man inside like a rare artifact. "You are human," she said calmly. Her voice was low, melodic, but carried command. "From the colony ruins, I assume?" Ethan looked up, his expression unreadable. "From Earth," he replied simply. Veyra tilted her head slightly. Earth, the lost cradle. She paused, tapping the glass. You fought like no human I've seen. Tell me, where did you learn such combat? Ethan gave a faint smile. You wouldn't understand. The commander's eyes narrowed. Try me. He leaned forward, voice quiet but sharp. You study strength. We become it. For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then Veyra gave a small, almost amused smile. Pride, confidence, dangerous traits in a prisoner. She turned away and motioned for the guards to lower the barrier. Ethan stepped out, stretching his arms as energy dissolved around him. The guards aimed their weapons instantly, but Veyra lifted her hand. Stand down. You're free to walk, she said. For now, I want to see if that fight was skill or instinct. Ethan's jaw tightened. You want another fight? I want to know you, she said. My army could use someone who fights like that. You would command power, protection, freedom. Ethan laughed softly. Serve the ones who enslaved my kind? No, her face turned cold. Then perhaps you prefer death, he shrugged. If that's what it takes. The words struck her deeper than she expected. No fear, no begging, only calm. It reminded her of old stories her ancestors told, about the first humans who stood against empires armed with nothing but conviction. She turned away, hiding her confusion. You are a fool. Maybe, Ethan said quietly, but I'm a free fool. That night, while the cell lights dimmed, Veyra sat in her private chamber, watching footage of Ethan's fight. Frame by frame, she saw the precision, every movement perfect like a machine guided by purpose. She zoomed in on his eyes. Even surrounded by monsters, there was no panic and only focus. Her assistant entered. Commander, the council requests a report. They fear the human could inspire the slaves. Inspire, she repeated. Yes, the footage is spreading fast. Even our soldiers whisper about him. Veyra dismissed the assistant. Alone, she whispered to herself. A single man, causing fear in an empire. She didn't know if it frightened or fascinated her more. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his dim cell, tracing marks on the floor with a piece of metal scrap. His muscles ached, but his mind was sharp. He counted steps, memorized guard shifts, watched patterns in the energy field. Every detail mattered. Every second brought him closer to escape. Suddenly, a voice came through the wall, unsoft, unexpected. You are brave, human. Ethan looked up. The voice was Veyra's. Her image appeared through the glass, like a faint hologram. You could rule entire units with your strength, she said. But you choose silence. Why? Ethan stood still for a moment. Then he replied, because real power doesn't need to shout. Her expression froze. For a brief instant, she saw not a prisoner, but a leader. Someone who could shake empires with words alone. Then the hologram faded. Veyra sat in silence, staring at the empty air where his image had been. For the first time in years, she felt unsure. Was she speaking to a human? Or to something greater than her entire army? She whispered to herself, Tomorrow I'll test you again. Outside the cell, the lights flickered red, signaling a new dawn. Ethan didn't sleep. His fists clenched, his heart steady. Whatever test awaited him, he would meet it head-on, because that's what humans do. The arena gates opened again. Dust rolled in thick clouds, carrying the smell of oil, sweat, and blood. Ethan stood in the center, bare-chested this time. Chains clinked at his wrists as guards led him forward. He didn't resist. He'd already counted the exits, the guards, and the weight of the chains. High above, Commander Veyra sat in the observation tower, her silver armor shining in the cold light. The crowd buzzed with excitement. Rumors had spread across the outpost, the human who fought barehanded. Some called him a beast in disguise. Others said he was a lost warrior from the old Earth Wars. Veyra's voice echoed through the arena speakers. Human, today you will face the creature that no warrior of my race has ever defeated. Survive and you walk free. Ethan looked up, eyes calm. You said that yesterday, he muttered. The crowd laughed. Veyra smiled faintly. Then prove me wrong again. The floor rumbled. From the gate across the arena came a roar so deep it shook the walls. A creature emerged, massive, four-armed, with armor-like scales glistening black under the lights. Its eyes burned yellow and its jaws dripped with acid. It was called the Karzul, a war beast bred for destruction. Ethan's breath slowed. He watched its movements, its rhythm. The creature dragged chains as thick as tree trunks, each step echoing like thunder. Let's dance, Ethan whispered. The beast charged. Ethan dove to the side as claws smashed into the floor, sending shards of metal flying. The shockwave threw him back. Pain flared through his ribs. He rolled, gasping, but forced himself up. The crowd screamed for blood. The Karzul turned and swung a massive limb. Ethan ducked again, then kicked the joint behind its leg. The blow barely made it stumble. He needed more. He scanned the field. Broken weapons, rusted armor, pieces of chain. He grabbed a cracked metal rod. The beast roared and lunged again. Ethan dodged under it, using the rod to jam one of its knees. It screamed, twisting wildly. He rolled clear as its claws tore the ground open. The rod bent, glowing hot from friction. Veyra leaned forward, eyes unblinking. The crowd was standing now. This was no ordinary fight. It was survival rewritten as poetry. Ethan jumped onto the creature's back, gripping the scales, pulling himself higher as it bucked like a storm. He slammed his elbow into its neck joint once, twice, 3 times until blood sprayed. The creature screamed and rolled over, crushing him beneath. The arena gasped. Smoke rose from the crater of the impact. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, movement. A hand broke through the dust. Ethan crawled out, coughing, his body trembling but alive. He picked up a shard of the beast's own armor, sharp and glowing red. "Your turn," he whispered. The Karzul staggered, snarling, and charged again. Ethan ran straight toward it, ducked under a swing, and plunged the shard deep into its chest. The creature howled, flailing, before collapsing in a cloud of smoke and dust. The arena fell silent. Ethan stood over the fallen beast, chest heaving, covered in blood and ash. His weapon dropped from his hand. He looked up at the command tower, meeting Veyra's eyes. She was frozen. He should have been dead. No human, no one, had ever killed a Karzul barehanded. Yet there he stood, defying everything the Empire believed. The silence stretched long. Then slowly the aliens in the stands began to cheer. Not mockery this time, respect. Raw, frightened respect. Veyra rose from her seat. Her voice trembled slightly, but her words carried through the air. "Human. Who are you?" Ethan wiped the blood from his face and answered softly, "Someone you'll remember." He turned away as the crowd chanted, his name spreading like wildfire. Ethan, the bare-handed human. In the command tower, Veyra's heart pounded. She had meant to break him, to test his limits, but instead, she had found something far more dangerous. Hope. And for the first time, she felt afraid. Afraid that this one man might change the destiny of her entire world. Night fell over the alien outpost like a steel curtain. The arena was silent now. No crowds, no noise, only the faint hum of energy lights flickering above. Commander Veyra stood alone in her private chamber, her mind replaying the battle again and again. She had watched Ethan defeat the Karzul, a creature designed to kill anything living, and walk away with nothing but scars. That was impossible. Not even her best cyber soldiers could survive that. She poured herself a dark blue drink, but her hands trembled slightly. "Who is this human?" Her assistant, a small robotic aide, hovered beside her desk. "Commander, the Council demands an explanation. They want the human dissected. They fear. Whatever he is," Veyra's jaw tightened. "Tell the Council I'll handle him personally." She opened a holoscreen. Ethan's fight footage played in slow motion. Each frame revealed something new. Tiny pulses under his skin, flashes of light from his veins when his adrenaline spiked. His body reacted to pain, not by shutting down, but by strengthening. She zoomed in, analyzing frame by frame. "Impossible," she whispered. "No ordinary biology does this." Her aide beeped nervously. "Commander, it resembles pre-war augmentation, ancient human technology. The kind erased after the collapse." Veyra's silver eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes," the aide replied. "This human carries dormant war machines inside his blood. Nanites, designed to awaken only under threat." She stood still for a long time, the truth hitting her like a blade. Humans weren't weak. They were sleeping weapons. The Empire had enslaved them because it forgot what they really were. Down in the cell level, Ethan sat on the floor, silent. His hands were bruised, his back raw, but his heartbeat was calm. He could still feel the heat from the fight, that strange burning in his chest. Every time he faced death, something inside him activated. It made him faster, stronger, sharper. He didn't understand it. He only knew it kept him alive. He whispered to himself, "They'll come again. They always do." Footsteps echoed down the corridor. The door slid open. Veyra entered, no guards this time. Her expression was unreadable. "You should be dead," she said quietly. Ethan shrugged. "You've said that before. I ran your blood through the scanners." She stepped closer. "You're not normal," he smiled faintly. "Never claimed I was." "Those machines inside you," she continued. "Do you even know what they are?" Ethan looked at her for a long moment. "They're old," he said. "A gift from the war that ended our world. The last defense humans built before the sky burned." Veyra frowned. "You mean you knew?" "I knew enough," he said. "They don't make me strong. They just remind my body what strength used to feel like." Silence. The hum of the energy walls filled the air. Veyra's voice softened. "Do you hate us, human?" Ethan thought for a moment before answering. "I don't waste time on hate, but I'll fight anyone who thinks they can cage me." Something in his words pierced her, not the anger, but the conviction. No rage, no pride, just truth. Later that night, Veyra stood on her balcony staring at the distant city lights. Below, the Empire moved in cold order. Soldiers, machines, obedience. And yet, one human had made the whole structure tremble. Her communicator blinked red. "Commander Veyra," a voice from the council barked. "We have decided. The human must be destroyed before his existence spreads. You will carry it out personally." She stayed silent. "Do you understand, Commander?" After a long pause, she answered softly, "Yes." But as the line went dead, her fingers tightened into a fist. She whispered under her breath, "No, I don't kill what I don't understand." She looked toward the cell block where Ethan sat beneath dim light, his shadow long against the wall. He wasn't just another prisoner. He was a spark, one that could set fire to everything she believed in. And though she didn't know it yet, that fire was already spreading. The order came at dawn. "Terminate the human." The words burned across Commander Veyra's command screen in red text, sealed with the mark of the Imperial Council. She stared at it for a long time, her silver eyes unmoving. Outside her window, the twin suns rose over the steel city, cold light washing over towers and gunships. Her aide entered quietly. "Commander, the council ship is en route. They will execute the order themselves if you hesitate." Veyra's voice was calm but heavy. "Prepare a transfer shuttle. Tell the guards I'll handle the human personally." The aide hesitated. "Commander." "Are you sure?" Veyra didn't answer. She simply turned away, her cloak fluttering as she left the chamber. In the lower prison decks, Ethan sat chained to the floor. His arms were bruised, his breath steady. He'd heard the whispers through the vents, soldiers gossiping, frightened. The human had become a symbol, a rumor, a spark of rebellion. He closed his eyes. "They'll come for me today," he murmured. The cell door opened with a hiss. 2 armored guards entered, followed by Veyra. She looked different. No crown, no command armor, just a black combat suit. "Stand," she ordered. Ethan rose slowly. "So this is it?" She didn't answer. She pressed a button, and the chains fell off. The guard stiffened, confused. "Commander?" One said. Veyra moved fast and too fast. Her blade flashed once, cutting through the guard's throat. The second raised his rifle, but she shot him through the chest before he could fire. The bodies hit the floor. Ethan blinked. "You just killed your own men." "I don't take orders from cowards," she said coldly. "Now move." He followed her into the corridor, alarms already starting to blare. Red lights flashed along the walls. Automated turrets dropped from the ceiling. "Down!" she shouted. Plasma fire erupted, scorching metal. Ethan dove beside her, grabbing a fallen rifle. He fired. 1 precise shot, 2, 3, hitting the turret sensors. The guns went dark. "You fight like a soldier," she said between breaths. He smirked. "No, soldiers follow orders." They ran through a maze of tunnels, footsteps echoing. Above them, voices roared through intercoms. "Security breach. Commander Veyra is compromised. Human target escaping." Veyra's chest heaved as they reached a sealed blast door. She slammed her hand on the console. "Code override Veyra 7-4. The door creaked open halfway, sparks flying. They squeezed through just as drones swarmed behind them. Ethan turned and threw a grenade he'd ripped from a fallen guard's belt. The explosion lit up the hallway, sending shrapnel and smoke in every direction. They reached the hangar bay, vast, echoing, filled with ships and chaos. Soldiers shouted. Sirens wailed. "There." Veyra pointed to a small gunship at the far end. "We can make orbit from that one." Ethan nodded, sprinting beside her. Bullets and plasma bolts zipped past. He rolled behind a crate, grabbed a fallen alien's blade, and deflected a shot, a wild move that even Veyra paused to stare at. "Not bad," she muttered. "Thanks," he said. "Been practicing." They reached the gunship, but a squad of elite guards blocked the ramp. Their captain stepped forward, helmet gleaming black. "Commander Veyra," he shouted. "By order of the council, surrender the human or die with him." Veyra raised her weapon. "Then I die fighting." The hangar exploded a noise. Plasma fire filled the air. Ethan fought beside her, moving like lightning, blocking, striking, dodging. He tore weapons from soldiers, using their own momentum against them. When the last guard fell, the hangar was a sea of smoke and sparks. Veyra leaned on the ramp, panting. "We're not out yet." Ethan helped her climb aboard. "Then let's make it count." The gunship roared to life, engines screaming as it lifted from the floor. The hangar roof opened to a sky filled with pursuing fighters. Veyra looked back one last time. Her home, her empire, burned behind her. Ethan strapped in beside her, his voice calm. "You didn't have to save me," she stared at him. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because I saw what you are." He raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" she whispered. "Hope. And hope is the one thing the Empire fears most." The ship shot into the clouds, chased by enemy fire. Below them, the first sparks of rebellion began to ignite. All because one human refused to die quietly. The storm over the capital world never stopped. Thunder rolled across the metal skyline as black clouds glowed with the light of explosions. The rebellion had begun. Commander Veyra's stolen gunship streaked through the smoke, weaving between towers. Sirens screamed from every direction. Entire fleets were in chaos. No one knew who was loyal anymore. Some shouted, "Save the commander," while others shouted, "Kill the human." Inside the cockpit, Ethan gripped the side rail as the ship shook from enemy fire. He was tired, bruised, and bleeding, but his eyes were steady. "They're locking missiles," Veyra warned. "Then we'll give them something else to lock onto," Ethan said. He slammed a lever, flipping the ship upside down, diving through a narrow alley of burning skyscrapers. The pursuing drones collided mid-air, exploding behind them in a ball of fire. Veyra shot him a look, half shock, half admiration. "You can fly?" He grinned. Crashing's just controlled falling. The ship leveled out, heading straight for the Imperial Tower, a colossal black spire that reached into the storm clouds. That tower was the heart of the Empire. The Supreme Warlord was there. So were the control networks that enslaved thousands of colonies. "That's our target," Ethan said. "We take that down and the whole machine stops." Veyra's voice was low. "It's suicide." "Yeah," he replied. "But worth it." They landed the ship hard on the tower's mid-level platform. The air was thick with smoke and lightning. Squads of soldiers surrounded the landing pad. Ethan stepped out first, no helmet, no armor, only determination. "Human," one soldier shouted. "Drop your weapon." Ethan raised his voice. "You think I'm your enemy? I'm fighting the same fear that chains you." The soldiers hesitated. They had seen the recordings. The man who fought barehanded, who survived the beast, who made even the commander defy the council. Veyra stepped forward beside him. "He speaks truth. The Empire feeds on fear. Today, we stop it." The hesitation broke the ranks. Some soldiers dropped their weapons. Others joined them. The rest fired wildly, chaos exploding across the platform. Ethan ran through the fire, deflecting blasts with fallen shields, striking with bare fists and shattered weapons. Every move was brutal, efficient. The nanites in his blood surged again, glowing faint blue under his skin. Pain turned into strength. Veyra covered his flank, her rifle spitting plasma bolts with deadly precision. Together, they cut through the guards and stormed the tower. Inside, the halls were like veins of light and metal. Alarms flashed red across the walls. Ethan and Veyra reached the throne chamber, an open arena at the tower's peak. The Supreme Warlord waited there. A giant covered in black armor, eyes burning gold. His voice was deep as thunder. "So this is the human who infects my empire with courage," he said. "How inconvenient." Ethan wiped blood from his lip. "You've ruled with fear long enough." The warlord drew a massive energy blade. "Fear keeps the universe in order." "Then it's time for a little disorder," Ethan said, and charged. The clash was like two storms colliding. Sparks filled the chamber. Ethan dodged heavy swings, each strike powerful enough to crush steel. He countered fast, using speed and instinct, not rage. Every blow he landed cracked the armor. Veyra fired at the guards, keeping them off him. But the warlord caught her with a blast of energy, sending her crashing against the wall. "Veyra," Ethan shouted. The warlord laughed. "Your defiance ends here." Ethan's eyes glowed faintly blue. The nanites surged again, flooding his veins. His body screamed in pain, but his spirit refused to fall. He charged one final time, grabbing the warlord's blade arm and twisting it back with impossible strength. The armor cracked. Ethan's bare fist slammed into the warlord's chest again and again until the energy core burst in a blinding flash. When the light faded, the warlord lay motionless. Ethan stood over him, barely breathing. Veyra crawled to her feet, blood on her face. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan looked at her, exhaustion in his eyes. "No, we did." Below them, the city lights flickered and went dark. The control towers fell silent. Across the Empire, enslaved species looked up at the storm and saw freedom breaking through the clouds. Veyra stepped closer, voice trembling. "What will you do now?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I came here to survive. But maybe it's time humans start living again." As lightning split the sky, the Imperial Tower began to crumble. Ethan turned toward Veyra, reaching out a hand. "Come on, we're not done yet." Together they ran through the collapsing corridors as the empire they once feared fell behind them, burning bright like dawn. The storm had passed. The sky above the ruined capital was quiet now, gray clouds drifting slowly over the shattered remains of the Imperial Tower. Smoke rose like mourning banners. The city, once blinding with lights and arrogance, now stood in silence. Ethan Cole walked among the ruins, his body trembling with exhaustion. His clothes were torn, his skin burned, and his blood left faint blue marks where the nanites still glowed faintly under his flesh. Every step felt heavy, but he moved with calm purpose. Beside him, Veyra limped on a broken leg, leaning on a makeshift staff. Her silver skin was smudged with ash. Her once perfect armor cracked and melted. Yet in her eyes burned something no empire could ever create: hope. "Ethan," she said softly, "it's over." He stopped, looking toward the horizon where the first light of dawn touched the ruins. "No," he replied. "It's beginning." They climbed the hill outside the city, the same hill where the alien banners once flew. Now only twisted poles and shattered metal remained. Ethan picked up one of the fallen banners and tore away the imperial symbol. He tied it to a rod of broken steel, planting it deep into the ground. Veyra frowned. "Why do that?" "Because something has to stand," Ethan said, "even if it's not a flag." Below them, survivors began to gather. Humans, aliens, soldiers, civilians. None spoke the same language, yet they all stood together, eyes lifted toward the hill. They had heard the stories: the human who fought barehanded, the human who challenged the Empire, the human who freed them. The legend had already begun to spread like fire. Later, as night fell again, Veyra found Ethan sitting beside a wrecked ship. His hands shook slightly as he tried to bind a wound on his arm. She knelt beside him. "You should rest," she said. He smiled faintly. "Can't. Too many people to rebuild." She watched him for a long moment. "Why did you do it, Ethan? You could have escaped. You could have left this planet behind." He looked up at the stars. "Because running doesn't change anything. Someone has to stay and show them there's another way to live." Veyra's voice softened. "And what way is that?" He met her gaze. Without fear. For a long time, neither spoke. The wind carried the faint sound of laughter. Children playing near the broken markets. Life was returning. Weeks passed. The rebellion grew into a coalition. Species that once served under the Empire now worked together to rebuild. Veyra, once called a traitor, became a leader again, not of war, but of peace. But Ethan began to fade. The nanites inside his body were burning out, their power spent after the final battle. His movement slowed. His breath grew shallow. He never told anyone. Only Veyra noticed. One night she found him sitting on the edge of the cliff overlooking the glowing city below. "The stars look different," he said softly. "Quieter." "They look the same," she replied. He smiled. "Maybe, but this time they don't look like prison bars." Veyra felt her throat tighten. "You're dying," he nodded. "Maybe humans were never meant to last forever. But ideas? They do." She reached for his hand. "You changed everything, Ethan. The people will remember you." He shook his head. Don't remember me. Remember what humans can be when they stop fearing death. As dawn broke, he stood one last time, his silhouette outlined by golden light. His voice carried across the wind. Tell them, strength isn't in weapons. It's in standing up when no one else will. He smiled once more, calm, proud human. And then quietly he fell to his knees. The light in his eyes dimmed, and the nanites in his veins faded into stillness. Years later, the world changed its name to New Dawn. At the heart of the capital stood a statue, a man barehanded, looking toward the sky, with these words carved at his feet. If they fear your strength, show them your mercy. That is what makes you human. Children of every species came to touch the statue's hand for luck before their first journeys, and every time lightning rolled across the sky, some swore they could see a figure standing tall in the storm, smiling, unbroken, watching over them all. Morale. True power is not in force or fear. It's in compassion, courage, and the will to rise again, even when the universe wants you to kneel.